Napoleon Bonaparte. The name echoes through history. He was a giant, he was an emperor. But even giants start small. Napoleon was born on the island of Corsica in 1769. His family wasn't rich or powerful, they were simple folk. Young Napoleon was a bright but restless child. He loved to read and learn, he devoured books on history and military tactics. He dreamt of glory and adventure. Little did he know, destiny had grand plans for him. Corsica had recently become part of France. This made Napoleon's childhood interesting. He felt a connection to his homeland and its culture. But he also saw the opportunities France offered. This duality shaped his worldview. It would later influence his decisions as a leader. Even as a boy, Napoleon showed leadership qualities. He was strong-willed and ambitious. He had a natural charisma that drew people to him. He excelled in mathematics and military strategy. This paved the way for his future success. The French Revolution erupted in 1789, marking the beginning of a period of immense change and turmoil. It was a time of chaos and upheaval, with the streets of France filled with unrest and the cries for liberty. But for the ambitious young Napoleon, it was an opportunity to make his mark on history. He joined the French army, eager to prove himself and rise above his humble beginnings. His military genius quickly became apparent, as he demonstrated an uncanny ability to strategize and lead. Napoleon rose through the ranks at a dizzying pace, earning commendations and the respect of his peers. He was fearless in battle and a brilliant tactician, often turning the tide of conflict in favor of the French. He led his troops to victory after victory, solidifying his reputation as a formidable leader. He became a hero of the Republic, celebrated by the people and admired by his soldiers. His star was on the rise. His soldiers adored him, seeing him as a beacon of hope and strength. They saw him as one of their own, a leader who understood their struggles and shared their burdens. He ate with them, slept near them, and shared their hardships, forging a deep bond with his men. They affectionately called him Le Petit Caporal, the Little Corporal, a testament to his close relationship with his troops. This connection with his men was one of his greatest strengths, fostering loyalty and camaraderie. It fueled their loyalty and inspired them to fight for him with unwavering determination. The French Revolution was a chaotic time, with the nation in a state of constant flux and uncertainty. France was at war with many European powers, and the government was unstable, struggling to maintain control. In this turmoil, people looked for a strong leader, someone who could bring stability and hope. Napoleon, with his military victories and growing popularity, seemed like the answer to their prayers. In 1799, Napoleon seized power in a coup d'état, changing the course of French history. He became first consul of France, the most powerful position in the nation. Although not yet emperor, he held the reins of power, guiding France through its turbulent times. It was the beginning of his reign, a new chapter in the history of France. Napoleon's military genius was undeniable. He was a master strategist. He studied the battlefield like a chessboard. He planned every move with precision. He knew how to use his troops effectively, maximizing their strengths. He was always one step ahead of his enemies. He wasn't afraid to break with tradition. He revolutionized warfare. He used artillery in new ways. He emphasized mobility and speed. His armies could move with lightning speed, striking at the heart of the enemy. His victories were legendary. He conquered Italy. He defeated Austria. He triumphed in Egypt, battling not only armies but also the scorching desert and ancient mysteries. He wasn't invincible, though. He suffered defeats, like the Battle of the Nile against the British. But even in defeat, he learned valuable lessons. He used them to improve his tactics and come back stronger. Austerlitz, December 2nd, 1805. The very name sends shivers down the spines of historians and military strategists alike. It was here on this frosty battlefield that Napoleon achieved what many consider his most spectacular victory. The forces arrayed against him were formidable, the combined might of Austria and Russia. Outnumbered, facing Emperors Francis II and Tsar Alexander I personally, Napoleon's genius shone through. He had anticipated their moves, using their own confidence against them. The battle raged for hours, a maelstrom of smoke, steel, and thundering hooves. Yet Napoleon's strategic brilliance was evident. He lured the enemy onto ground of his choosing, springing a trap that shattered their lines. Austerlitz wasn't just a victory, it was a masterpiece. It cemented Napoleon's reputation as a military genius, a force of nature on the battlefield. The echoes of that victory still resonate, a testament to his strategic brilliance and the courage of his soldiers. Section 5. Beyond the battlefield, reformer and visionary. Napoleon wasn't just a conqueror, he was a builder. He wanted to leave his mark on France, to create a lasting legacy. He implemented sweeping reforms that transformed French society. He reformed the education system. He established lycées, state-funded secondary schools to provide quality education for all, regardless of social class. He believed that an educated citizenry was vital for a strong nation. He revolutionized the French banking system. He established the Bank of France in 1800, bringing financial stability to the nation after the chaos of the Revolution. This fostered economic growth and helped rebuild France. Napoleon patronized the arts and sciences. He saw their importance in promoting French culture and prestige. He commissioned great works of art and architecture. He supported scientific research and exploration. He wanted France to be a beacon of enlightenment and progress. Section 6. The Napoleonic Code, a legal legacy. Perhaps Napoleon's most enduring legacy is the Napoleonic Code. This comprehensive legal system, enacted in 1804, replaced the patchwork of feudal laws that had governed France for centuries. The Napoleonic Code enshrined the principles of equality before the law, religious tolerance, and the separation of church and state. It provided a framework for a just and equitable society. It was a radical departure from the past. The code was revolutionary in its scope and impact. It spread throughout Europe with Napoleon's conquests. It influenced legal systems around the world. Even today, its principles resonate in many modern legal codes. The Napoleonic Code wasn't without its flaws. It had limitations, particularly in its treatment of women. However, it remains a landmark achievement. It stands as a testament to Napoleon's vision of a modern, rational, and just legal system. Section 7. The Empire Unravels, from Russia with Loss. By 1812, Napoleon's empire stretched across Europe, from the Iberian Peninsula to the borders of Russia. He had reshaped the continent, but his ambition knew no bounds. His desire for dominance was insatiable. He set his sights on Russia, a vast and unpredictable land, hoping to bring it under his control. This decision would prove to be his undoing, a grave miscalculation that would haunt him. The invasion of Russia began in June 1812 with high hopes and grand expectations. Napoleon led his Grande Armée, over 600,000 strong, into the heart of Russia, confident of a swift victory. He expected a swift victory, but the Russians had a different plan. They employed scorched earth tactics, leaving nothing for the invaders. They retreated, drawing Napoleon deeper and deeper into their territory, stretching his supply lines thin. The Russian winter set in, brutal and unforgiving, turning the campaign into a nightmare. Napoleon's army, ill-prepared for the harsh conditions, began to crumble under the relentless cold and snow. Supplies dwindled, disease spread, and morale plummeted. The once formidable force was now in disarray. The retreat from Moscow became a desperate fight for survival, with soldiers facing starvation and freezing temperatures. The Russian campaign was a disaster for Napoleon, a catastrophic failure that shattered his grand ambitions. His once mighty army was reduced to a shadow of its former self, decimated by the harsh conditions and relentless Russian tactics. The defeat shattered his aura of invincibility, revealing the vulnerabilities of his empire. It emboldened his enemies, who sensed weakness and the possibility of victory, leading to a coalition that would eventually topple his reign. Section 8. Exile and Aftermath, the End of an Era. The tide had turned against Napoleon. The once invincible emperor found himself facing a coalition of enemies. His enemies united against him, defeating him at the Battle of Leipzig in 1813. This marked a significant turning point in his fortunes. He abdicated the throne in 1814 and was exiled to the island of Elba. Stripped of power, he was left to ponder his fate. His reign was over, or so it seemed. But Napoleon wasn't finished. He began to plot his return, driven by an unyielding ambition. In 1815 he escaped Elba and returned to France. His daring escape reignited the hopes of his loyal followers. He rallied his supporters and marched on Paris. The people, still enamored with their former leader, welcomed him back with open arms. He reclaimed the throne for a brief period known as the 100 Days. This short-lived resurgence was filled with both hope and tension. His final stand came at the Battle of Waterloo on June 18, 1815. It was a decisive and brutal confrontation. Facing the combined might of British and Prussian forces, Napoleon's luck finally ran out. His strategic genius was no match for the overwhelming opposition. He was defeated, ending his reign for good. The dream of a Napoleonic empire was shattered. This time, his exile was permanent. There would be no escape from his final destination. He was sent to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. Isolated and under constant watch, his days of glory were behind him. He lived out his days there, a prisoner of his own ambition. The island became his final resting place, far from the grandeur of his empire. He died in 1821 at the age of 51. His legacy, however, would endure, forever changing the course of history. Section 9. Napoleon's enduring legacy, a giant's shadow. Napoleon Bonaparte. A complex and controversial figure. He was a brilliant military strategist, a ruthless conqueror, a visionary leader, a product of his time, a shaper of history. His legacy is debated to this day. He left an indelible mark on Europe and the world. His conquests redrew the map of Europe. His reforms transformed France. His legal code influenced countless nations. His story continues to fascinate and inspire. He rose from humble beginnings to conquer much of Europe. He spread the ideals of the French Revolution, albeit through conquest. He left behind a legacy of both progress and destruction. Napoleon's life was a whirlwind of triumphs and tragedies. He was a giant among men, a figure who continues to cast a long shadow over history. Love him or hate him, his impact on the world is undeniable.